What's today? Signaling Sunday. You already know we're right here. We're decided to hop on, chop it up with individuals. See what's the talk of the town is going down the word of the curve. You heard me. Now, for those who are interested, I did drop a new video on this channel. If you guys want to scope it out, referring to and how some homies supposedly try to act black and why they're trying to act like something that they dislike. So, yeah, guys, want you guys to scope that out and make sure to tap in on the G files. They are on this channel now, right? We've been uploading several G files, so we do have those up and going. We dropped one on Panorama, North Hills, and several other places, Montebello, Burbank, Sun Valley. So we got that going on. Hi, hello there, Julie Carnal. What's cracking, lacking? What's good, Little Rich? We chilling, my boy. How about you? We chilling on this Sunday. I hope everybody's having a lovely weekend. You ever do a video on Jar? No. Jar was just a small Titan crew. That was in Orange County. The only reason why, people heard about it is because that video went viral. That Jar video, which I watched the video. I just didn't understand what everybody's obsession or fascination was with that video. I just didn't get it though. No. I know it's a real crew, but it's just a crew though. That's why I didn't cover it. Out of Orange County, but I just didn't understand why people were or why that video went viral. They legit. No, I know. I'm not saying they're not legit, right? But I mean that they're a crew though. I normally just cover neighborhoods. Just because crews are not they're just temporary things. They really don't last. I mean, there's some that do, right? But very few though. They normally all wither away. I don't know if it was funny because the guy himself, or I don't know. I just really didn't see the big bus. No, I understand that part. But you see that, you hear about that all the time, though. I just didn't understand why this one was so significant from all the other ones. You know what I mean? In the streets, you get that all the time, bro. All the time. Or maybe because we see it happen all the time, it's not a big deal, right? And maybe how people normally don't get to see it. Maybe that's why, Maybe it's just normal to us, so that's probably why we just didn't see a big fuss in it. What's cracking Mr. Pasa? Definitely up in the casa for the raza. Or people with jobs, kind of fags who are getting I think it's crazy how fast an ego can inflate somebody. You know what I mean? Because whenever somebody starts to have a disagreement with somebody else, right? That's normally one of the first things that they go for, oh, well, you're broke, fool. What is the argument that we have anything to do with how much money we get paid here? They're arguing about they both grab the last cereal box, right, and start fighting for it, right? And, broke ass, what does financial status have anything to do with what's going on right here, though? Why'd you bring that up? That makes no sense whatsoever. Unless where people really or what they value, right? It's kind of sad that they think that somehow makes a big difference or something like that. My sound is off? How about now? I accidentally tapped on one of these buttons right here. All right, all right. My bad. It's because it's got all these fucking shits on my screen that is like, damn it. That's why I always try to be moving it around. I don't know why fucking YouTube be putting all this crap that I don't even use anyways. Like they put filters and emojis and like shit that I never even use ever. Cam was once a crew. No, yeah, it was, and they're not the only ones, but there's so many different neighborhoods at once that were crews at one point that are now neighborhoods, right? Cam, JBI, UMK, um, WS, NFL, and the list could go on and on and on and on. But like I say, it's rare that that happens though. Like out of all the crews that are out there though, like very few actually make it though. Very few. Takes a lot of committed individuals, which a lot of crews don't tend to have. Yeah, so was TMC and several other ones. But like I said, it's very rare when that happens though. Most crews, the individuals that are and even like if you ask them when they become neighborhoods, like half of the individuals end up falling off or not wanting to go down that path and end up leaving the crew though before they make the transition. It's because like I said, crews prioritize different things than gangs do. Crews are not trying to take it to that level though. They're not really trying to be like that. They're just trying to have a little bit of reckless fun, but they ain't trying to fucking, be out there, doing, like heavy shit though. I was a tagger, then became a gang, so I left. Yeah, and a lot of people, that happens with a lot of people. A lot of people that happens. They're like, oh, hell no. Like, I ain't trying to do that gang shit. Like, fuck that. And then they just end up leaving the crew. Which I understand, and it's better that way, though. Like, I respect individuals like that, though, because, they're not trying to play the part, though. It's worse when an individual tries to act like he's like that or about that life, right? And then, he's pretending, and then he ends up getting fucking, exposed, pues. He should have just been straight front, like straight up. Yeah, I know. Trust me, I get it. Like, I trust me. I know taggers that are down for the shit. They'll fight, right? But they ain't trying to die for no neighborhoods or die for no streets. They ain't trying to do none of that. You know what I mean? They ain't trying to do life or time. And I understand, bro. I perfectly get it. And trust me, before individuals, like I said, before anybody gets into the hood, bro, we let them know, like, hey, are you sure, bro? Because this and this might happen. This and if they still want to, then they get in. If not, then fucking we don't force them. You know what I mean? But people know what they're getting themselves into. You know what I mean? That's why when people on here try to play the part, like acting like, oh, they're shocked that their homies weren't there. Like, bro, shut your stupid ass up. You knew this was. You knew once you were gonna get busted, no one was gonna write to you. You knew that, bro. You knew that was part of the game. Don't act brand new. You know what I mean? Oh, you're acting all shocked and shit. Or like when people try to like lecture these gang members, they know what they're getting themselves. They know that this is all a part. It's all explained to them. They're not lying to them when they're young. They're not telling them that they'll have women and money. They're not being lied to. See, people think that kids are being lied to by older gang members. That's how they trick them into being gangs. Because why else would they join the gang, though, if they're not being lied and promised women and money and stuff like that? Exactly. People don't understand the emotional thing that goes into why individuals join gangs, bro. It's not because they're promised women and money and shit like that. They're not being brainwashed. See, but people see it that way because they're looking for an explanation, and they don't want to blame the household because, well, the household is, how are you going to blame the parents? The parents ain't gang members, so it can't be them. Why not? Don't act like you know his family. Like, don't act like you know what happens behind his closed doors, when, in his home. You don't know what's happening to that kid. You don't know if there's neglection, abuse. You don't know a goddamn thing. Just because somebody has their parents in their life does not mean that everything's just sunshines and rainbows. Like people think like that because they manage to have a good relationship with their parents, right? Like their parents are cool people, so they think like everybody else's parents are the same way. When it's like not everybody's parents are the same way. Some people just don't deserve to be parents. Some people are cruel people. You know, they may look like. I mean, a lot of families you see it perfectly. They look like a loving family. Next, fucking. There's like the brother kills the whole family, or the daughter, or the father, and then it's like people didn't see it coming, and it's like, why are people acting like they know this family, bro, and know what happens behind closed doors? Like that's crazy. But they had big ass homes and they had money. They had nice cars. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, like if that solves all of life's problems, or people that have money are not allowed to have problems because they're rich. It's sad the illusion that people have been fed. If you have money, all your problems would magically go away. Like what? Okay. This infection could infect anywhere. Do you have any native homies from your hood, or do you know it? Actually, yes, I do have one native homie from the hood, and he a big dude, bro. The homie Bear, he big, he's big, he's big. I just wanted to tag and fight. I was never with the government. No, I know a lot of individuals that are like that. Unfortunately, there's some individuals that pretend to be like that, but really, all they want to do is just those things. You know. Rich people view 9 to 5ers as peasants. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of them do. People play victims when things don't go their way. Serio. Thoughts on parents that don't do shit when their kids get assaulted by a stranger because they don't want no problems. Yeah, that to me is just like fuck that. Like, come on now, you gotta stand up for your kid. Hey, why do you think I started growing? Why do you think I started growing? I started my new. Why did I think you started growing once you started your new religion? Maybe you found peace at mind. You know, maybe something related to you, right? That hit you hard. That you were it opened up your train of thinking. I was when I read Friedrich Nietzsche's work. Before Friedrich Nietzsche's work, I was I didn't really give much thought or reason or shit a chance to anything in general. But once I read his work, like I started seeing things in a different way. You know, like I said, that's the reason I was never religious. It's just religion to me. I was never. I just had so many questions, right, that nobody was willing to answer or explain, right. They just wanted you to believe, and I'm just not that type of person, right? Like, I need answers, and I don't, just relying on mythical thinking wasn't for me. So Friedrich Nietzsche actually came with actual, real, proof and explanations, right? And it just made so much sense. I call those periods. Well, it's not so much shit for allowing it to happen, right? Because you can't control like the whole world. Like if something happens to your kid, like outside, like let's say the parents at work, right, and something happens to them, right? Um, but like I said, you have to at least fight, in behalf of your kid. Once you find out, at least try to make an effort instead of trying to sweep it under the rug. Because that's kind of telling the kid that you're not really that important to actually get myself into some shit for. At least that's the way the kid's gonna take it. And if he sees that his parents don't give a fuck about him, imagine how he's gonna grow up viewing the world. if my parents, the ones that brought me to this planet, the ones that are supposed to care about me, if they don't even give a fuck, why should that kid think that anybody else in the world will give a fuck about him? He's gonna grow up thinking that nobody gives a fuck about him, so why should he give a fuck about them? You know, he's gonna grow up, very bitter and very troubled. He's gonna cause all kinds of chaos, and people be like, "Damn, why does he do the things like why is he fucking shit up?" Like, because he doesn't care. Because people don't care about him, so why should he care about how people see things or feel or what he does to others? Now I know that's a fucked up way of thinking, but that's the way it is, though. That's the way they grow up. People are always telling them to, hey, people have problems, suck it up, get through it. All of us have to get through it. Stop bitching, get through it. He's gonna tell them the same thing once he does something to them. Oh, stop bitching and crying. Just like I have to put up with it, now you have to put up with this. So get over it. It's a cold game. All right, they don't see my problems as okay, no big deal. All right. He's gonna see it like that's only fair. It's only fair now. Just like I have to live through this bullshit. Now I'm gonna make people go through the same bullshit, and now it's only fair though. It's a fucked up way of thinking, but that's the way it is though. Like I was a shitty person a year ago. Now I'm growing like crazy. Well, it also depends, like also like when you're like how old you are, right? Because when you're younger, obviously you think it's more petty. Younger people are always gonna think petty. They're always gonna want to be. You see, it's because when we're younger, we're still going through puberty. Puberty is not just one day or 2 days. It's a lengthy period, right, where your brain is growing, right? That's why people tend to do more stupid shit and wild shit and think more crazy when they're younger than when they're older, right? Because that part of the brain is still developing. So when a person, is younger, he's reacting on emotion, not on critical thinking. Because like I said, that part of the brain hasn't developed yet. It doesn't develop until you're about 21, 22, roughly around that age. That's the reason that's the age, for, consent of drinking and gambling and shit like that. They don't just pick a number out of a fucking hat. They go off of the science research, right? Um, so, like I said, before that, they're still growing, even though, like, wow, how's that possible? He's 20. He should already know. That's what I'm saying. People don't understand the science. They don't understand the human brain, right? So they want to just, talk without knowing, right? So that's why younger people tend to be more, quick to want confrontation than when somebody who's older. When that part of the brain is already developed and you're able to, develop critical thinking and understanding and break down scenarios and shit like that. Now, why is there some people that are older that still are, reckless and thinking like that? But that's because the trauma affects that. The trauma affects that part of the brain, right? It doesn't allow them to learn just like at the same rate as everybody else does. You get what I mean? That's why, your common sense is not the same as their common sense. When it's like, well, how the fuck can they not figure it out? Like, well, it's kind of like if you grow up without having somebody to guide you. You had your parents, so you had the luxury of, guidance and people that are teaching you good morals. These people didn't have that luxury, right? I know you can see it as like, well, they're adults already. They should be able to figure it out. It's not that simple, though. But see, it's hard for you to see it that way because, like I said, you live the opposite. So. That's why I said being a parent is very, very important. It's the most important thing on the planet. Because how a kid grows up is literally going to paint their whole entire future. That is the most important time in a person's life, pretty much. Because what happens there is literally going to affect his way of thinking, the way of looking at life, and the way of being throughout his whole entire life, practically. There's guys that are like that are scared to get in a fight. They won't even fight back to protect themselves. Like, to me, I think people, when we're talking about fights, though, I think people put the wrong ideas or the wrong feelings into what a fight is symbolizes, right? Like, the fight is not about who wins or who loses. That's not what a fight is about. The winner and the loser is completely irrelevant. That shit doesn't even matter at the end of the day. What matters is not letting yourself. not letting a person try to, walk all over you, sticking up for yourself, standing up for yourself. They can beat you up, but don't let them bully you. You get me? Like, stand up for yourself, regardless if you win or lose, you know what I mean? The fact is you didn't let yourself, and can nobody make fun of a person for that reason? Like, he lost, he got his ass whooped, but he didn't let himself, and that's all that matters. That everyone else is gonna win a fight, you're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. That's just how it goes. The whole point is you're not supposed to let yourself, though. You know, just like I said, in a fight, anything could happen, right? Like, there's a lot of people that just like to talk a good one, right? They just talk shit all the time, and people always back down from them. That they get this, they think that they're the biggest, best fighter in the world. Like, bro, stop lying. Stop acting like you be throwing hands all the damn time. I seen people get punched and fold up. Yeah, I seen that a lot too. People that have tattoos from head to toe. I'll be 34 at the end of the year. One thing I really hate was that older homies would go to middle school to recruit. I have never heard of that in my years, bro. Ever, bro. Ever. I have never heard of that ever in my life. Like, you know why that to me is just a weird thing to do, right? It's because it's like this. The homies see the hood as something that they care about. It's something that's like they hold at a high pedestal. It's something that to them they see as like, something that they should be treasured, right? Like, you should want to be from the hood. It's a fucking honor to be from our neighborhood, right? So imagine us trying to go and beg people and trick people into getting into our hood. Like, what kind of shit is that? Like, you would want to come to be from our hood. You would wish you had the opportunity to be from the hood, right? Like, we don't have the time to be going and trying to fucking, brainwash anybody's kids. You know what I mean? Like imagine us doing that, like how the neighborhood would look, like we're, we have to beg people to be from the hood. You get what I mean? Like, that is just like the opposite of how gangsters work and pride in their neighborhoods, right? So I don't see why an individual would go and do that for, especially to middle school. We'll tell the homie like, hey, what the fuck you doing, bro? Hey, fool, if they want to be from the hood, let them come and they'll be from the hood. You're tricking people to be from the hood. The last thing you want to do is trick people into being from the hood, right? Because if anything was to happen, that person that you had to fucking beg and trick and everything, that's the person that's going to tell on everybody, bro. Because he didn't want no part of this. You had to trick him. Now when he's finally sitting in that station, in that fucking jail cell, he's going to be like, oh, man, you know what, man? I need to want to be a part of this, man. Listen, hey, guard, I want to talk. You know what I mean? Like, that's the most stupidest. Like I've always said, if you have to trick a homie to going and doing a mission with you, don't even take that homie, bro. Like, oh, if he's going, I ain't going then. Because if we get pulled over, that fool's going to tell on everybody, bro. Like, look at us. We have to trick him and force him to come. Imagine if we get pulled over. Fuck that. That fool's telling on everybody. Like, that's stupid. Like I said, like, when people blame these gangsters and stuff like that, it's like, bro, they're acting like if these gang members are going into people's houses and grabbing their kids and bringing them out to the street, they're coming willingly, choosing their life willingly. Why is that? Hey, bro, they're 12, 14, 13 years old, and they don't care if they live or die. Tell me, is that the mentality of somebody that's coming from a loving home? They don't care if they live or die, and they're 12, 13, 14 years old, because that's the age that they get into gangs. They don't care if they live or die, bro. And that's somebody that's coming from a loving home? That's somebody that's understood at his house? Really? Really? Going based off of human behavior, you're going to tell me that that's really what it is? They move out of the area. They go to a different area. The kid still gets into problems, starts hanging around with, kids over there. And next the gang starts to spread into different locations, even though the parent moved that kid out and put him into a different location. Yeah, because it was not the hood. It was not these individuals that were corrupting the kid. The kid is feeling some type of way. He's literally lashing out and yelling, and you can't even see the answer because the answer is hard to accept because you have to look in the fucking mirror. And you're not willing to do that, so you're going to blame the friends. You're going to blame the territory. You're going to blame the environment. Yeah, that's why you move that person out of the environment, yet his behavior still continues. What are you going to blame now? What was it now?
I get where you're coming from, but there's some batters that try to recruit youngsters by force. But how do people know that they're trying to recruit them by force? That's what I mean, though, because like I have never seen it. And I have hanged around all kinds of different batters and individuals. I've never seen that. Like, hey, homie, you're gonna be from the hood, homie. Hey, you better accept it. Like, bro, that fool's gonna tell, bro. Fool's gonna tell on everybody. You know what I mean? Now it's different. Like, let's say if there's like a crew of individuals hanging around in your hood, right, and they're causing havoc and like gangsters, right? Like, no, well, you know what? If you guys are gonna be right here acting like this, then you guys are gonna get into the hood. See, that's different, though. You get me? Because it's like they're trying to be a gangster. So you're gonna try to be gangster, then you get into the hood. Then that's different from like trying to force some good kids to try to be bad kids. You get what I'm saying? Because individuals, they recognize the behaviors, so they're like, okay, so these motherfuckers are trying to be like that. Then all right, we gonna see if they like that. Because if not, they're gonna probably end up getting into somebody else's hood, and then you're gonna have an issue. You gotta get ahead of that problem. But like I said, it's not like they're doing that to like kids that are fucking some good kids. You get me? Like those already troubled individuals. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, if you're constantly hanging around these individuals and you're in that activities, bro, then sorry to say, bro, like that's the outcome that's gonna happen, bro. That's the outcome that, hey, if you don't want any issues with the gang life, if you don't want to be sucked into that world, then stay away from them individuals. Don't hang around them individuals. You get what I mean? Because once you start hanging around them individuals, you're gonna get sucked into the mess. Like I said, look, in a gang's territory, in their barrio, where they live, where they reside, there's so many kids that live within that area, right? All these kids get walking home from school, they're seeing the graffiti, they're seeing these gang members, they're seeing everybody, right? And they're all going to the same school, and they know each other, they know who each other are, right? Maybe not like close friends, but they know who each other are, right? So everyone, they grow up all in the same area. Not all those kids turn out to be members of that gang. Only some of them do, right? And the others don't. Okay. So only some do and some don't. What is being done different? What are those parents doing that these parents are not doing, that these kids chose to become a part of the gang, but those kids didn't get? They all reside in the same area, go to the same schools, and know about each other. What is happening different? What is being done different? Is it not the parenting? You know what I mean? I'm not going to be okay with my son just hanging around a bunch of gang members. I'm not. I'm sorry, I'm not. And I'm going to know about that, right? If I know my son. Like I said, people don't just wake up one day and want to be in a gang. It's a process, right? So if you pay attention to your kid, you're going to be able to see your kids start to change, and you're going to wonder, like, hey, what's going on? You know what I mean? How is it these people don't recognize until their kids already getting arrested? Like, I never knew. How did you not know? How did you not know? I'm able to tell when there's something wrong with my kid, and it's not because I'm super strict and all, on top of them. And like I said, my kids are already in college. Honor students too. You know what I mean? Like, how are people not able to tell? All I did different from with my kids that was done with me was the opposite that was done with me, which I actually gave a fuck. You know what I mean? And like I said, like, I get it. There's some people's parents who are not gang members. Like, nobody says your parents have to be gang members or be drug addicts in order for a kid to turn into a gang. You know what I mean? Neglection. The parents always at work. They got to work 2 jobs to pay the rent. Who's watching the kid? Who's raising the kid? They never interact with the parents. It's like them and the parents are like different worlds, bro. They don't even know each other. They just feed them and put a roof over their head, but that's about it. It's no connection, no bond. What kids grow up wanting. That's a form of neglection. It creates trauma. That's a form of trauma. Even though people be like, but that's fucked up though. They're working 2 jobs to try to pay the. Hey, that's why it's important to talk to your kid. Hey, no one says you got to talk to them all 10 minutes a day. Just get to know what he's into, what he likes. And I get it. You're tired from work. You just want to rest. Hey, make an effort though. It'll make all the difference in the world. If you just have a few conversations, small conversations, at least act like you care about what he has going on with himself. Instead of always being like, vete allá, no, estoy cansado, estoy ocupado. Mira, es que estoy hablando con mi amigo, vete para allá. Estoy mirando el juego, ¿qué no miras? Okay. So then he's running around and doing other shit, and then the parents like, I don't know what happened. Why didn't you tell me this? Like, motherfucker, every time I came and told you, told me to fuck off. So, shit. Now you want me to come and talk to you? Now you want me to... Nah. Pues que se les entiende. No, but see, that's the thing. They're not looking for the ones that want the life. Those individuals, like I said, they start mingling and hanging around, and they themselves come willingly, like, looking for a bud connect or just, like interacting with them, right? Like curiosity maybe, or for whatever reasons, right? But they're already into bad habits, right? That lead them into coming into these individuals. And of course, these individuals are going to, embrace them. You know what I mean? But that's not a recruitment. Recruitment is like trying to brainwash them into coming and luring them. They're coming willingly, bro. Now, what happens after that? That's on them. See, think about it like this. People be like, well, why can't they, steer them and teach them better to do better themselves? The ones that are doing it are people their age, though. They're, like people that go to school with them. Those are kids, bro. You think kids are going to be telling them, like, hey, stay out of the street? They're kids themselves. Of course they're going to lure them into all the crap. But see, that's not adults doing that. That's not their OGs doing that. You know what I mean? These individuals are not running around with the OGs. When people are putting in work, they're putting in work with people that are roughly their age. That's who's the ones that run the neighborhoods, who really is the strong force of the neighborhoods. You know what I mean? You'll see the OGs in a meeting or at a barbecue or at a get-together once in a while. But normally you're running around with homies your age. That were your friends before anything else. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like, and it's not even like they're just bringing them because that's their homie, and then after that, whatever happens, happens. But I guarantee you that was not their intention. Because like I said, kids don't think that far ahead. They're not, they don't like, they're not like fucking, strategists like that. You know what I mean? The ones that hey, fool, and they're chilling and hanging out and doing all kinds of stuff. Hey, fool, you should just get into the hood. Hey, I should, huh? You know what I mean? But that's not an order given to them by their OGs. Like, hey, you're going to have to do this, homie. The OGs don't tell these fools what to do. They do it willingly, and they go out there doing shit willingly. That's how neighborhoods run. You know what I mean? It's called reality. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my lunch break is over. We got to get back to this. Good chopping it up with you guys, and we are out.